Salams, this is People's Dispatch, and you're watching the Daily Roundup, our selection of some of the top stories from around the world. Let's first take a look at today's headlines. The United States plans to sell more arms to Taiwan despite China's warnings. Protests and violence grip Iraq following prominent cleric Muqtada al-Sadr's retirement from politics. Tea workers in Bangladesh have ended a strike and rejoined work. And Bolsonaro-linked businessmen are being probed for attacks on democracy in Brazil. US President Joe Biden is preparing a fresh batch of arms sales to Taiwan, according to reports coming on August the 30th. Reports said that he will send the proposed arms sale deal for approval to US Congress. The arms are worth an estimated 1.1 billion US dollars and have to be ratified by the Foreign Affairs Committees of the US Congress before it can go ahead. The arms sale includes 60 AGM-84L Harpoon anti-ship missiles worth approximately 350 million US dollars and 100 AIM-9X Sidewinder tactical air-to-air missiles, which cost approximately 85 million. There's also an additional 650 million or so being spent on the extension of surveillance radar contracts. The Biden administration is yet to formally announce a sale or notify Congress. Additionally, the United States announced on Sunday the dispatch of 2 warships to the Taiwan Strait in a freedom of navigation exercise. Responding to the news of the planned arms sales, China's embassy in the United States has warned the Biden administration against arming the state of Taiwan. It said China will take decisive and firm measures if the United States continues to provide military assistance to Taiwan. It called the arms sale a blatant violation of the One China policy and other diplomatic agreements between China and the United States. It further added that such sales embolden separatists and contribute to raising tensions in the Taiwan Strait. China urged the US to stop supporting Taiwanese independence as per its own statements and declarations on the One China policy. Tensions between the two countries have been high for some time. In the first week of this month, US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan in the latest act of provocation and aggression by the United States and Taiwan. China responded with large-scale sea, land and air exercises around Taiwan and warned the US that it's willing to take any measures, including military action, to defend its sovereignty over Taiwan and its broader security interests as well. Large-scale violent protests broke out in Iraq on Monday following Muqtada al-Sadr's announcement of retirement from politics. Al-Sadr closed down all his political offices as well. His supporters stormed the high-security Green Zone and reportedly attacked government buildings, including the Republican Palace. Violence continued on Tuesday morning, with reports of fighting inside the Green Zone. According to Iraqi news agency, at least 4 missiles targeted the area on Tuesday, and Al Jazeera reported gunfights as well. The Qatar-based media organization reported that at least 30 have died and over 700, including members of security forces and various militias, have been injured in the clashes between security forces and Sadr's supporters. Clashes were reported from other parts of the country as well. According to news agency Xinhua, some unknown fighters were also involved in the gunfight. However, Al-Mayadeen's correspondent in Baghdad denied reports of clashes between Sadr's Salaya al-Salam brigade and the Hashd al-Shabi, which is the Popular Mobilization Forces. On Tuesday, Hashd al-Shabi criticized the role of al-Salam in the violence within the Green Zone and denied its involvement in the clashes. Prime Minister Mustafa al-Khadimi's government declared a day off for government employees on Tuesday and a general curfew throughout the country. The PM also criticized the use of bullets against protesters and announced an investigation into the matter. Khadimi appreciated appeals from Sadr and other leaders asking supporters to refrain from further violence. Following Monday's clashes, Sadr announced a hunger strike demanding security forces end the use of force against those supporting him. Fearing the violence will lead to a full-fledged civil war, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has appealed for calm. Stefan Dujarric, Guterres' spokesperson, said, and I quote, he strongly urges all parties and their actors to rise above their differences and to engage without further delay in a peaceful and inclusive dialogue on a constructive way forward. End quote. Sadr's supporters have been sitting inside the Iraqi parliament building for almost a month, demanding fresh elections and reforms to the constitution. They stormed parliament following the announcement by Sadr's rival, the coordination framework, of Shia al-Sudani as the prime ministerial candidate. Iraq has been in political turmoil for years now. In October 2020, the government led by Adil Abdul Mahdi, had to resign after popular protests that lasted almost a year. There was finally a fresh election last year. However, 10 months since then, Iraq's political parties have failed to form a government. The Sadrists and some other parties now raise the slogan of a complete political overhaul, which is also being echoed by popular protests. Tea workers in Bangladesh will return to work after more than 3 weeks on strike, according to a report on the 29th of August. Workers decided to rejoin after the Bangladesh government raised their wages by 50 Bangladeshi taka. The minuscule wage hike increases the wage from 120 to 170 taka. The government decided to raise wages after a meeting on Saturday between the Bangladeshi Tea Association and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. However, the Prime Minister's Chief Secretary, Ahmed Kekos, later told news outlets that additional perks and benefits have been offered to workers as well. He says days of annual leave, festival, as well as sick leave and bonuses will be increased. Workers' medical expenses will be taken care of by tea garden owners. Additionally, workers will get higher financial assistance for the government towards subsidized rations, medical benefits, pensions, educational options for their children, as well as free housing. Workers all over the country launched the mass indefinite strike on the 13th of August, demanding better working conditions. They had asked for an increased wage of 300 taka. The Bangladesh Tea Workers Union welcomed the government's raise in wages and other benefits, and its acting Secretary General Nipin Sen thanked the Prime Minister and said it has accepted the decisions. He said workers will rejoin soon. However, reports said many are still discontent with the extremely low hike in wages. Workers in several districts such as Sylhet, Maulvi Bazar and Habibganj say that 170 taka is insufficient to meet even basic daily expenditures. However, despite this, they have decided to resume work. Other sections of the working population in the tea gardens allege that since the strike began, union leaders are working on behalf of the owners and not the workers. They said several members of the union's leadership belong to the ruling Awami League party. In effect, they said the union functions as a sister organization of the ruling party itself. According to them, many leaders have been involved in corruption because of their links with the ruling party and active participation in both local and national level politics. Workers have also said the current union term has expired in June and a new one will be formed soon. Our last story is from Brazil, where 8 businessmen with close ties to President Jair Bolsonaro have apparently been leading a criminal organization under investigation for anti-democratic activities and other crimes that are aimed at destabilizing the country. These are the conclusions of an inquiry by the Federal Supreme Court, or the STF, in Brazil. The findings were released on the 29th of August. Court Minister Alexandre de Moraes recently approved search and seizure actions against the group of 8. The group recently advocated for supporters of the Bolsonaro regime to perpetrate a coup d'etat if the widely popular leftist former president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva wins the upcoming presidential elections, a race he is currently leading by a substantial margin. Moraes said the businessman's statements are extremely dangerous and are not merely crimes of opinion. He said they've encouraged others to commit violations and crimes to attack democracy and the rule of law in Brazil. These include people who are not members of the organization. They aimed to destabilize and weaken the democratic process and rule of law to facilitate an easier coup later on if required. To achieve their goals, the investigation found a well-established structure that aimed to propagate attacks using well-defined dissemination strategies. The organization has regularly attacked the STF, the Brazilian Armed Forces, the Electoral Court, and other associated state as well as local authorities. They reportedly have extensive digital media presence that also has production, publication, financing, and political centers. To curb these activities, the minister said the bank accounts of the 8 businessmen have been blocked. This has been done to cut off their financial ability to carry out illegal criminal activities on a nationwide scale in the run-up to the elections. And that does it for this episode of the Daily Roundup. For more details on these stories, as always, head over to our website, peoplesdispatch.org, and give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.